Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, May 3rd. Hope you didn't miss us too much, but we were obviously off yesterday for one day. But we are back today on this Sunday, and it's a super Sunday in the NHL because we have the two best words in sports, arguably. I think you could say it is Game 7, the only Game 7 here in the Stanley Cup playoffs in this first round between the Montreal Canadiens and Tampa Bay Lightning. Excited about that. And we also have the beginning of another second round series tonight. And a chance for this series to be a pretty good one. The Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche as they get their second round matchup going tonight in the second game of the doubleheader. It's Ian Cameron. It's Alex B. Smith with you. And like I said, excited about today. Nothing like a Game 7. And hopefully it delivers the goods and a great game and a compelling game to end what's been just an outstanding series between the Lightning and the Canadiens. Before we get into the recap of what happened last night, we do have a BetCast-related announcement to make, so we'll start with that.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
All right, we have our free-for-all. Now, this is a free-for-all BetCast. This is our monthly free-for-all Ice Guys Live BetCast. Coming up, we're going to have it this week, Wednesday night, May the 6th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got a great second-round doubleheader coming up Wednesday night. It'll be Game 1 between the Buffalo Sabres and the winner of the Montreal-Tampa Bay series to start the night, and then Game 2 between the Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks at the end of the night. So that will be our BetCast. We'll be on for both games Wednesday night, start to finish, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. DM or email me to join the BetCast. And again, this is free for all, so this is open to everybody, including the people that aren't obviously subscribed to Patreon. So Wednesday night, May 6th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Very much looking forward to that. Alex is traveling this week. He's going back home for Mother's Day weekend, so he'll only be on for a little bit on the BetCast on Wednesday night. But Alex, looking forward to that. And like I said, a pretty good night with that BetCast because you got Buffalo and whoever's coming out of Montreal, Tampa. We think that's going to be a good series against the Buffalo Sabres. I don't think you say, oh, it's only a good series if Montreal advances. It's only a good series if Tampa advances. I think either team would make for a great series against Buffalo. And I think Vegas Anaheim's got the chance to be one hell of a compelling series. So looking forward to Wednesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, those are going to be some solid matchups to get the second round started as far as our BetCast coverage goes. So, like I said, I'll drop in there for a little bit, but you'll be carrying the load most of that night. And it should be a fun one.
No doubt. Looking forward to that. We will have Patreon exclusive live BetCast announcements coming up. We won't have any this week. You know, it's one of these deals when we do the all-night BetCast like we're doing on Wednesday, give ourselves a little break. We will have a couple the following week. Not this week, but the following week. We promise our Patreon members we'll give you 2 BetCasts next week toward the latter part of the second round. So make sure you get ready for that. We're looking forward to it. I'm going to be brief with my recap with last night. First of all, too, as far as what we saw Friday night, just a shout out to because we weren't on yesterday, just a shout out to the the Vegas Golden Knights, rather, closing out the Utah Mammoth on Friday night. And Mitch Marner, look, he hasn't had a great playoffs. Let's not kid ourselves. He's been very indistinguishable in postseason play in years past, but that was all with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's not even a debate. He had his best, most impactful playoff game in his career, Game 6 on Friday night. 2 goals, 1 assist. Played one of his best games I've seen him play in the postseason. I know Leaf fans are probably losing their minds and, ready to throw their TV out the window seeing that. But nevertheless, it was a good win for Vegas, their most dominant performance of the series against the Utah Mammoth. Credit to them for advancing. And shout out to the Buffalo Sabres. They finished off the Boston Bruins Friday night. We cashed the best bet with Buffalo. Alex had Buffalo as well on Friday night. They got the job done, and another Boston Bruins season ends on home ice for them. So we just wanted to make a brief mention of what we saw Friday night. And then last night, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for any Philly people that watch the show and the Flyer fans. This is looking like a short series. I mean, so much for my silly handicap that the Flyers would be able to take advantage of Carolina's layoff and rust and extended rest. And, that's the tricky thing with the extended rest handicap. Sometimes the rest actually has a team flying out of the gate as opposed to rusty and out of sync and not sharp. And it was definitely the we were ready to go version of Carolina with the coming off the layoff. And I thought that would be Philly's best chance. And now that they didn't win game one, and not only didn't win game one, but got shut out, I mean, if they win a game in this series, they might be fortunate. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. Now, look, this is a good coach in Tocchet. This is a team that still plays hard, Philly. Yeah, and maybe they needed a game to kind of acclimate themselves to what Carolina brings to the table, and another night too, Alex. You watched that game. Where was the open ice? Where was the time and space for Philly to do anything with the puck last night? The way Carolina defends, it's a thing of beauty to watch. Actually, if you appreciate good, structured, defensive hockey, puck carrier, always pressured. The puck pressure all over the ice from Carolina is amazing. The sticks in the lanes, the bodies in the lanes. There was a moment I thought Konechny, oh my gosh, he's in the slot. He's going to get a great chance here on Freddie Anderson. No, there's a stick in the lane. Puck doesn't even get to Freddie Anderson, and it's out of the zone. This team's defensive ability is unbelievable, the way they defend all over the ice. And it's going to make make it even harder for the Philadelphia Flyers offensively. And what can we say about this second line? They're not the second line. I'm calling the top line right now. And that's with all I don't want to insult Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov and Seth Jarvis. Those are great players. But right now, the top line, because they're acting like it and they're playing like it, is Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, and Jackson Blake. That line is incredible. Logan Stankoven, get the fire hydrant out. Put him out. He's on fire, this guy. He can't be stopped. Another game with a multi-goal game. Almost had the hat trick. And what a start for me with my Logan Stankoven top goal scorer in the series bet at 12-1. That's off to a phenomenal flying start. I mean, Alex, that's a worrisome result in a first game for the Philadelphia Flyers. I know you could say leave the door open for adjustments. They did miss Owen Tippett. You do have to remember that. They missed him, and he's a big part of what they do, especially in the top six. But that wasn't pretty for Philadelphia. And this Carolina team, not only 5-0 in the playoffs, haven't lost yet. They haven't trailed in a game yet in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And one of the few teams in history for that to happen. I mean, it's bleak. I hate to paint a nice rosy picture for the sad Flyers fans on a Sunday afternoon here. I can't do it. I think you're in tough now.
It's very bleak, and it's very bright if you're in Raleigh, because what I saw yesterday is something I haven't seen from this Carolina team throughout this run of playoff appearances with Brendan Moore as head coach. They pulled out the death roll defense. What is the death roll defense? It's something I've seen multiple times with my Hawks during their Showtime dynasty. Pittsburgh played like this. LA played like this. Tampa played like this. Florida had games like this. Every team that has been a dynasty, going all the way back, you can go all the way back even to Detroit in those early years in the 2000s. They play these games where they jump out to an early lead and the defense clamps down, and it's basically just 45 minutes of wasted time. Like, there was absolutely fun. Even when Philly had chances, they weren't strong enough, and everybody in that fucking building, everybody who was watching on ABC knew Philly just didn't have it. This was Carolina's game, and they had a complete stranglehold on it, and they were not letting go until that final buzzer hit. And that's exactly what it was. And we haven't seen that from Carolina in previous years. Those teams that have gotten swept out of the conference finals, that teams that had, back and forth battles early against teams like the New York Rangers. This team's for real now, and that game proved it to me.
Yeah, it was spectacular, and it's I feel like this series is, when you think about a series being a potential mismatch, and I think I'm there now with this series, that it could very well be just a mismatch and it could be over quickly. Sometimes in those series, you run back the same bets that keep cashing. And my thought coming out of that game was, if I bet Carolina first period puck line every game in this series, I'm probably going to hit it every game in this series. If I bet first period over every game in this series, I think I'm going to hit it every game in this series. And then if I come back and I bet a live under after the first period goes over, it's probably going to cash every game in this series, because the game flow will be the same for Carolina if they play this way, if they can replicate it, and if Philadelphia can't do anything about it. It's going to be Carolina jumps on them early, gets the lead, Probably goes over in the first period, large part due to Carolina, and then it slows down and you have a live under after that. That's kind of the game flow that I see this series repeatedly having.
Yeah,
Philadelphia can't do anything about this. You agree with that, Alex?
I completely agree with that. That it feels like they can just kind of name their style, and that's the way they can play this. And if you continue this particular style, there's no way Philly can break out of it.
And that's the problem. It's hard enough for the teams that have some punch offensively when they're trailing against the Carolina Hurricanes. We're not talking about an offensive juggernaut here with the Philadelphia Flyers. We're talking about the worst power play in the NHL. And boy, did it look like it. There were times they couldn't even gain the zone, Philadelphia. There were times on the Flyer power plays last night, Alex, the Carolina Hurricanes shorthanded had the better chances. So, like I said, it was a real rough first game. I know Tockett's a good coach, and I know they'll probably have a better idea. I think they won't be, shaken about what to expect next time around. But sometimes you just run up against a team that's better and just can execute better. And when you struggle offensively against a team that defends that well, it can be trouble. And like I said, maybe I'm proven wrong, but I think it's a short series for Carolina. I just do.
I grabbed plus 270 with Carolina sweep. It's still available at FanDuel. I did that this morning. That was one of the first things I did waking up.
If you're a Patreon member, you'll know that when I posted the Saturday card yesterday, I actually did end up betting a piece of the sweep pre-series before game one at plus 600 because I said there is a part of me that thinks maybe this could be, like I said, 5 or 6. I was thinking before the series when we talked about it on Friday's show, I would give Philly maybe one game, maybe even 2. I didn't think they would get swept. I thought maybe 5 or 6. I'm worried they may not even win a game now. After what I saw last night. So, like I said, it's a concern right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll see what adjustments, if they can make any, on Monday night for Game 2. But like I said, this might not be about adjustments. There might be nothing they can do from an X's and O's standpoint. They just run up against a team that's just better than them. I'm starting to think that could be the case. All right, let's get into Sunday's slate. What a game here this should be. TNT's got both games tonight south of the border. I think this is the first game of the entire playoffs that the full A team of TNT is together. Kenny, Edzo, Brian Boucher. I don't think they've done a game together these whole playoffs so far, but they're together for this one. Montreal and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay minus 160 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Edzo back from the Kentucky Derby. Thanks for nothing, Edzo, with the pick there on the no, I'm kidding, of course. Hey, it's horse racing. Anything can happen. But I rode with Edzo's pick there with Efficient Market or Emerging Market, Emerging Market. But speaking of Kentucky Derby, Golden Tempo, my God, the ground and the stocking.
That's wild.
And the ground that horse made up to win that thing, incredible. Wow. I mean, way back to win the Kentucky Derby yesterday. Pretty impressive.
I had Forever Ado was running right next to him, and watching that race, that was incredible. Go from last to first, and the first female trainer to win a Kentucky Derby as well too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Like I said, it was a very impressive victory there. What was an impressive victory for Tampa Bay was Game 6 in Montreal. Tough place to win, season on the line, and they found a way to get it done with Gage Gonsalves with the victory. If you haven't heard the Dave Michigan Lightning radio call, oh my God. I mean, he's had some doozies in the past. That was another one of them when that goal went in for Tampa Bay. That forces a Game 7. And again, we haven't really seen momentum carry over from one game to the next in this series, especially with the way it's been going lately. We saw Montreal Game 1, Tampa Game 2, Montreal end up winning Game 3, Tampa Game 4, Montreal Game 5, Tampa Game 6. I'm sticking with the Habs here. The Habs don't fear this building. They don't fear Amalie Arena. That's a coin flip game that easily could have went Montreal's way as it did Tampa in Game 6. The only concern I would have is Andrei Vasilevskiy. I would argue that for the very first time all series, that was dominant, as close to steal a game version of Andrei Vasilevskiy as we've seen in this series in Game 6. He was spectacular. That was the best of Andrei Vasilevskiy. And if it's that version of him again tonight, it's not going to be easy here for the Montreal Canadiens, without a doubt. But I still feel that this team, let's not forget all the chances Montreal had before Tampa Bay was able to win it in overtime. So, like I said, I think this is definitely value on Montreal, win or lose. They've already taken 2 of the 3 games on the road in Tampa Bay in this series. We've talked about the struggles long term of the Lightning at home in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The run is now 2-13 in their last 15 home playoff games, laying a price like this of minus 160. And we have some big injury news on the Montreal side. They've been able to get to Game 7 without Cole Caulfield getting anything. No points, no goals for Cole Caulfield, and yet they still have a chance to win the series here in Game 7. And they've also gotten to Game 7 without arguably their best defenseman, certainly one of them, Noah Dobson. And Noah Dobson is skating morning skate down in Tampa and may make his series debut for the Canadiens tonight. What a boost that would be for the Montreal Canadiens in a game of this magnitude. I would assume Jack-Eye would be the guy to come out of the lineup if Noah Dobson's in here for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we're not saying for sure he's a go, but it's looking possible. He's probably going to be a game-time decision. I was starting to see rumblings, too, that Victor Hedman could be available in Game 7. I'm a little less sure of him tonight because I thought Cooper said a few days ago that probably doubtful to return, at least in this series. But there's, I think, some possibility, at least, that it's Hedman. And certainly Dobson, it is very possible he's back. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, yeah, I'm going to take Montreal, plus 140. We also talked about how the majority of this series, as far as minutes played in this series, the games have been tied. That's how close it's been. There hasn't been a single game in this series decided by more than 1 goal. So if you're so inclined and you don't mind, well, it's, to me, it's too pricey. But I know there's people that have said, they're willing to lay a minus 190 with a Montreal plus 1.5. See, that's too much juice for me to do that. But certainly, look, there hasn't been a game decided by more than 1 goal in this series. But to me, the value is Montreal here, plus 140. I don't think they're deterred by losing at home. And I like the words from Marty St. Louis. We're just going to go out, play our game. We're happy. We're in this spot. This is going to be great for our team. He said this is going to be great for so many of our young kids, to be able to play in a Game 7 for the first time in their career. So like I said, I think this series has been, again, this goes back to why I was on Montreal in Game 5 as well. This series has been closer. This series has been tighter than a duck's ass. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's closer than having Tampa put out there at minus 160 in my mind as home favorites. So give me Montreal plus 140. And this is our first chance to crack out and get the Ian Cameron Game 7 SGP going again. And for those of you that haven't been watching the show in the playoffs in years past, this is a standard bet that I've made in Game 7s for the last couple of years. Now, last year, the results for it weren't great, but 2 years ago, I think it went undefeated doing this SGP in Game 7, and then the year before that, it was also profitable. So what it is we take both teams plus 2.5 goals, alternative puck line. Okay, so that's Montreal plus 2.5, Tampa Bay plus 2.5, and you attach it with under 6.5. You bump that total up from 5.5 to 6.5, just for a little bit more cushion. And I got that at minus 120 at Bet365 yesterday when I bet it. I don't know how much that price has changed, if any, but it's a reasonable price. It's been a strong, profitable bet in a Game 7 in years past. Take both teams plus 2.5 goals. You figure it's going to be a competitive, tight game start to finish. And obviously, unders in Game 7 have been dominant long-term in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So Montreal and Tampa Bay, both plus 2.5, and also under 6.5. Same game parlay around minus 120.
At FanDuel right now, I just plugged it in minus 117 for that move.
Oh, even better. Oh, there you go. Yeah, very solid price on that. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good angle to rock with here in Game 7s. Alex, what do you think here? Game 7 for all the marbles, Habs Lightning.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. And like I said, it's been a very tight series. Now, I have Tampa Bay plus 230 in this series by way of Montreal being eliminated in the first round. We talked about all that. So I will have a piece of the Habs plus 140. Just, I'm pretty much just sitting comfortable. I'll get some kind of profit from either team winning. I might sprinkle a little bit on the draw here because this has been a tight draw type series. So you got to shop around. I haven't grabbed the best price yet, but I more than likely will be on the draw. I'm not looking at the empty net goals or anything like that because, like I said, we haven't seen a game finished by margin, and it would not shock me one bit if this game finishes tight. So I also will have a piece of that parlay that you have as well, except minus 117 at FanDuel. grabbing that under 6.5 and getting both teams at plus 2.5 as well.
I'm just realizing that the last 5 games in this series, 5 of the 6 games so far would have cashed this SGP. So there you go. 5 of the last 6 games in this series would have, each of the last 5 would have cashed this SGP. Both teams plus 2.5 goals along with under 6.5. So we'll definitely see if that's the case. Yeah, I don't know what the third period. See, game 7 with third period overs is absolutely, for me, strictly a live look. Strictly a live look. It depends on the situation. It really does. Game 7s are very, very tightly contested defensively, and there's a reason why they've been lower scoring historically for very long time. Game 7s is because both teams are playing with that blocking every shot mentality, getting in every lane, that kind of situation. So, and Tampa, there's a good stat from Jonathan. Tampa's last 6 game 7s have had a combined 4 goals or less. And Montreal's last game 7 was that, I think, that COVID year, that game 7 when they came back to beat Toronto, and it was 3-1 in that game 7. So yeah, everything does point. You can take under. I would lean under 5.5 on its own as well. Here, you could maybe want to split that with first period under though too, because you could see the first period being tight. The first period unders have started to cash here. The last couple of games in this series. Game 6 was a first period under. Game 5 was a first period under. Game 4 was a first period under. We haven't seen a first period over since Game 3 of this series. So, yeah, I think if you like the under on its own, split it between first period and full game is what you should go with here. And look, I don't think the goals are going to be in bunches here. So you got to tread lightly if you're going to bet goal props. But as far as this game is concerned, goal props for me, I would say I would go try Anderson again here for Montreal. I could see. I think he scored in the Toronto game 7 years ago. I'm not sure about that, but I think I remember him being one of those players to find the back of the net in that game 7. If you look at the lineup situation here, I see Corey Perry, Braden Point, Jake Gensel on the second line. Corey Perry, veteran guy. He's been in a lot of these, obviously. He's had a very quiet series. That's the thing. The form is not there with Corey Perry right now offensively. He does have a lot of, experience in games like this. It could make it possible. And the reason, another thing I like Josh Anderson here is I'm seeing Suzuki, Caulfield, Anderson possibly being the top line tonight for Marty St. Louis. So you're going to get that bump to that top line if that combination stays true to form. Anderson on that top line would offer certainly some value. Uri Slavkovsky, Ivan Demidov, Jake Evans. Jake Evans has actually had some good looks here the last couple games. It's not the craziest thought to maybe consider him. Talked about how good the Tessier, Doc, and Bolduc line have been the later part of this series. That's something to look at. Brandon Hagel is, you want proven players that are going to step up. You'd like to hope Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov get going. And they won game 6 in spite of another quiet game from both of them. It was an awful game again for Kucherov, but obviously they were rescued with the Gage Gonsalves goal in overtime. But it doesn't change the fact he's had a very rough series. But if he's ever going to step up, you would think it's here. Kucherov, Point. I get it. They should be the guys to step up and deliver in a game with your season on the line, but, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm a little hesitant. I'd more go toward Gensel, Hagel, Cirelli. If you're going to take any of the big boys for Tampa Bay for goal, assist, points, Hagel, we know he's a proven performer in this series. Cirelli is someone, in the big moments I've seen him step up. Gensel, has had a solid series. I wouldn't even hate Nick Paul because I think Nick Paul scored in a game 7 or 2 in the past, if I'm not mistaken. I think Nick Paul's had a couple big goals for Tampa Bay in years past as far as elimination games, including Big 7. One career game 7, 2 goals. There we go from Nick Elvan. I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. In game 7, he played well for Tampa Bay. So I think it could be this could be the night to go back to our old friend Nick Paul as far as the goal prop category. Look, here's the thing, Jonathan, with Bjorkstrand. Those are good numbers, but he's had an awful series. Have we even noticed him in the on the ice in this series, Oliver Bjorkstrand for Tampa Bay? So that's the only concern. He does have the track record in elimination games of making things happen, but I don't know if you could possibly look and play any more invisible. And the telescope man in this series, Oliver Bjorkstrand. So that's my only fear with taking it. But your numbers do back it up as far as him being able to play in elimination games. Obviously, this is a game where you want to look probably block shot props as well here, probably in a game like this as well. I'm just trying to give you a couple indicators who's been good with block shots. McDonough for Tampa, 3 straight games over 1.5 blocked shots. Mike Matheson and Alexander Carrier for Montreal, 2 straight games over 2.5 block shots going into this. So those are a couple of good combinations. Now, Eric Chernak hasn't gone over 1.5 shot, didn't go over 1.5 shots last game, but he'd probably be another decent candidate, as far as being able to, suppress shots here for the Tampa Bay Lightning here in a must-win, winner-take-all Game 7. All right, let's get into first, before we get into Minnesota-Colorado Game 1, just like we did with Philly, Carolina, we'll just talk the series in general, series bets, West second round, Minnesota Wild, Colorado Avalanche. We got Colorado minus 230 series favorites here in this game, or in this series rather. I'm not making a move on the series winner, and I'm not making a move on an exact series result here either. Although I'm tempted by Colorado in 6, Colorado in 7. What I do think is Minnesota is good enough to push this to the deeper waters. This is a series where I do like 6 and 7, and I'm going to take a shot with that. Minnesota to win 4-2, Minnesota to win 4-3, Colorado to win 4-2, Colorado to win 4-3. I think it's going to be a close series. I think Minnesota's got certainly some confidence, certainly some momentum, and I think Quinn Hughes proved already against Dallas that he can be a difference maker and just that X factor that Minnesota hasn't had in years past, because him and Faber are an unbelievable pair now on that back end for the Minnesota Wild. So, and when you look at Colorado, terrific season overall, but LA is not a litmus test opponent for me. Sorry, they're not. That is not, and they dominated LA. They did what they had to do, sweeping them. But if you actually look at scratch beneath the surface, you'll see LA was in most of those games. LA was just an erratic bit of a dumpster fire all year. Fired a coach, of course, deservedly so, during the season, and Jim Hiller. I think Minnesota could compete with this team. And if you look at, and that's all I'm asking for, because that's what I'm looking at here, is obviously the 6-7 game market here in this series. And I think we can go, and Minnesota's good enough to push Colorado into those deeper waters. You look at the regular season series, it was a 2-2 split between the teams. Minnesota won a game at home and in Colorado, and Colorado was also able to win a game at home and in Minnesota during the regular season series. I think when you look at Minnesota, what they've got offensively now, it's huge for them that Matt Zuccarello got back for them before the end of the Dallas series. It's obviously very, very important. We know Joel Eriksson-Ek's still been banged up for the Minnesota Wild, and he's shown up on the injury report, questionable in particular for Game 1 here against the Colorado Avalanche. Again, we'll have to wait and see if he does suit up. And look, that would be a big loss. There's no question about that. But like I said, Jonas Brodin out to start the series. It would be a little bit concerning for the early part of the series. But I think when I've seen from Minnesota throughout the series, throughout the playoffs so far, I think they can make this a competitive series. So I'm going to go, I'm not picking a winner in this. I'm not betting a winner in this series. I'm going to go 6 and 7 games, which again, if one of those hits, we profit, and 4-2, 4-3 on both sides, exact series result. And again, as long as it goes 6 or 7, doesn't matter who wins. We're going to profit with one of those. So that's the approach for me. For my pick to win the series, I've still got to go with Colorado, even though Minnesota, I think, will push them. I think the difference is, I think Minnesota's got more offensive firepower in the top 6 now to match Colorado. I think there could still be a little bit more depth for Colorado with the bottom 6, although it's close. If your Michael McCarrons of the world are going to score goals again for Minnesota, that gives them a chance to get some of that depth scoring, making an impact. The blue line, I still have to give an edge a little bit to Colorado, because after Faber and Hughes is awesome, no doubt about it. But I think that still the greater depth on the blue line is Colorado. The goaltending, Jesper Wallstedt, outstanding, Alex, in the series against Dallas. He's very, very solid. But I still got to give the nod slightly to Scott Wedgwood in the goaltending battle. He's got more experience, not playoff experience, because the first playoff for both of them, but just more starting experience in the National Hockey League goes to Wedgwood, even though it's been through a lot of years bouncing around from team to team. So, like I said, this is a very competitive series to me. I think Minnesota is going to be in it. I think they'll push Colorado, because there's been times this year with Colorado they haven't looked overly dominant. There's been games where it's like, well, they looked dominant early in the season, but in the second half we didn't always see it. So I'm going to go with Colorado to win the series, and I'm going to say it's going to require 6 games minimum for them to be able to get it done in this series. And then as far as the series long props, we talked about how we like Stankoven as far as leading goal scorer in the Carolina series. In this series, I'm going right to Matthew Boldy for the Minnesota Wild. And this could be a prop that hits even if Colorado wins the series, because I think Matt Boldy's really starting to heat it up. We saw it at the end of the Dallas series, to get plus 375 or 400 with him to lead the series in goals. I like that a little bit. Obviously, McKinnon and Kaprizov are your favorites, to be the leading goal scorer in this series. I'm going to throw a little flyer out there down the board on someone for Colorado, Gabe Landeskog, to lead the series in goals. You can get him at 35-1 right now at Bet365 to lead the series in goals for the Avs. I think that's worth a look. I really do. This guy is a goal scorer in the playoffs, steps up, elevates in the playoffs. Look, is McKinnon, Natchez, some of those players going to have a chance maybe to lead the Avs in goals in this series? Absolutely. But here's Gabe Landeskog coming off a 4-game series against the Kings in which he scored 2 goals in that series. He also had 5 points. I think Gabe Landeskog has proven himself in his career that in the playoffs, he certainly can make an impact. Nichushkin, I'm waiting on Nichushkin, Steven Jackson. I'd like to have belief that Nichushkin finally pops off here and has a big series, but we haven't seen it yet. But you are buying low on Nichushkin, Alex, because his prop to lead the series in goals is like 35-1 as well. Same price as Landeskog. I mean, he could go off at any minute. He's got that ability to do that and just dominate in the series. But yeah, Landeskog, I think, and the point prop, which Jonathan likes, he likes Landeskog to lead the series in points. Yeah, no argument there. I don't hate the Makar look either. 9-1 to lead the series in points. Those are, I get it. I understand it. It makes sense to me. But my favorites are Landeskog goal, 35-1 is my bigger long shot. And then I like Matt Boldy. I really do think he could lead this series in goals in that plus 400 range. So those are the props I'm looking at for the leaders in goals, leaders in points. Plus, if you can find Boldy and Landeskog over the total goals for the series, bet it, because I will have a piece of that as well. Alex, overall thoughts? West second round, Minnesota, Colorado.
I don't think this series goes as long as you think it will, and that makes sense. Like I said, when you're looking at player props, I don't have that many player for our prop looks. In fact, I don't have any in this one. But there's a way that I'm betting this. I like either team to win game 1 and the Avs to win the series. I grabbed Wild win game 1, Avs win series plus 370. Avs to win game 1 and the series minus $1.10. So that kind of takes care of how I'm betting today. But I think the Avs win this in 5 or 6 games. I think this is the series that wakes up the sleeping bear. Like you said, there wasn't much of a litmus test against the LA Kings. Avs didn't have to do much. They kind of coasted through those games. And either we see a Carolina version in the West in game 1, or we see, like I said, the Wild continue their momentum from their win, punch Colorado in the mouth, and then they wake up in game 2 and get things rolling. But I think this is a 5 or 6 game series. As good as the Wild have played, as great as they've looked, I think that Colorado still has another gear to reach. And once they reach that, and especially, like I said, the goaltending matchups, Wallsted's been fantastic, but Wedgwood,
he doesn't take a back seat in this matchup.
No, and especially now with him getting snubbed out of that Vezina Trophy finalist, I think he finds another gear and I think that's going to really gird him up moving forward these next couple series. So I like Colorado within 5 or 6, plus 390 for the series to win 4-1, plus 360 for Avs to win series 4-2. And like I said, I have split either team to win game 1 along with the Avs to win the series tonight.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but I was impressed with Minnesota. And look, you could pick away at the flaws for the Dallas Stars. Obviously, that's still a team that got to the West Final 3 years in a row. and Minnesota went through them, played well, and certainly dominated and controlled much more of that series than the other way around against a very, very viable opponent. And like I said, when you look at the regular season, the fact it was a 2-2 split, in the regular season between these the two teams, I think that tells me Minnesota can be competitive. And that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm on 6-7. And of course, not only did I play exact number of games, 6 games, 7 games in the series, but also, again, 4-2 and 4-3 exact series result for both Minnesota and for Colorado. All right, let's get into game 1 specifically tonight. This will follow game 7 between Montreal and Tampa Bay. Game 1, Colorado minus 190, home favorites, 5.5 the total. Now, last night I made the mistake of really banking on the layoff factor and the layoff angle, and I paid the price for it. It didn't matter. Carolina actually was fresh, ready to go. They weren't rusty. They were sharp. Philly wasn't able to take advantage of it, and there was no layoff. There was no rust factor for Carolina last night. Because of that, maybe I'm a little bit more hesitant with buying into the rust factor here for Colorado. Not to mention, Brodin is still out for Minnesota to start the series. We don't know if Joel Eriksson is going to play here in this series to start game 1 here tonight, and that would certainly be a big loss for the Minnesota Wild. Maybe Colorado is going to be more sharp on their toes, and it's going to be more rest and being fresh than it is rusty and out of sync like it was for the Carolina Hurricanes last night. But I am still going to, with less of an amount involved, I'm still going to sprinkle on the Minnesota goal in the first period, Minnesota first goal, first period. But I'm also going to go with over trifecta, Alex, which is what I like the most in this game here tonight. Like over trifecta. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think this could be a game where we get goals. LA, tried to turn that into a quagmire against Colorado in the first round, and as a result, try to drag those games down as far as lower scoring. And I think we're going to see out of the gate here, Minnesota is a different type of opponent. They're not the Minnesota Wild of the 2000s under Jacques Lemaire playing the trap, relying on winning games 2-1, 3-1. They have confidence in their offense to be able to score goals right now. You look at the Dallas series, 7, 6, 7, 5, 6, and 7. There's one game in that Dallas-Minnesota series that fell below 6 goals. One. That was it. And that was game 4 of that series. That's it. Every other game had at least 6 goals combined in that Dallas-Minnesota series. And like I said, Colorado, had to deal with LA and their issues offensively. And Colorado defensively is legit. I think Colorado can defend. I think Colorado can play a shutdown game. They have Wedgwood in net. He's had a great season. But you can't compare the task of shutting down LA versus shutting down Minnesota. It's going to be tougher for the Colorado Avalanche defensively. You could flip that around and say, though, it's going to be tougher for the Minnesota Wild defensively, because you know what? Dallas had no Rope Hintz. It's a great pit call by Jonathan there mentioning that. That's huge. Mikko Rantanen was not 100%. Our own Dallas Stars fan, nobody bigger in our family, Matt Robinson, confirmed that to me. He's got little insiders with the team, and he texted me saying, hey, he was not even 100%, not even close. So Mikko Rantanen's banged up. That's a concern. Some of the players you expected to step up couldn't. Minnesota they were good defensively. They did what they had to do. They bottled up Dallas, shut them down at 5-on-5 even strength. But Dallas was compromised in a lot of areas, and Colorado will be a much more formidable task to shut down in this series for the Minnesota Wild at the defensive end of the ice. Now, the question's going to be, Colorado's power play has been their one issue. Colorado has been the power play has been the one negative this year. For some reason, Colorado, with Makar and McKinnon and Landeskog, Brock Nelson, Marty Necas, more than enough talent on to have a great power play. For some reason, it didn't click all season. The power play was a problem for Colorado. However, it did start to show signs of life toward the end of the LA series. They did get a power play goal. Now, it was the only power play goal they scored in that series. But maybe it's a sign that maybe they can get this power play going a little bit. And let's not forget, Minnesota's penalty kill was destroyed by Dallas. And they won the series in spite of it, but they struggled on the PK against Dallas. And I know Colorado's had issues on the power play. But I have a feeling Colorado's power play is going to percolate here and come to life a little bit against Minnesota. So I'm on Minnesota first goal, first period, and Minnesota to score a goal in the first period. Those are sprinkles on both of those smaller bets. What I like the most, and I did end up betting over 1.5 first period yesterday, Philly, Carolina. Thank goodness for that, because the Philly bets all fell apart. I liked over trifecta here quite a bit. So give me over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period, and over 5.5, minus 120, minus 125 here. I think we get at least 6 here. And this, 6, it was 7 goals in Minnesota's first game. I know it was the unders in the Colorado first round series against LA until that last game when they eliminated the Kings. But this is going to be more of a pace series. This is going to be more of a test defensively for both of these teams than what they faced in the first round. And I think it'll show tonight. Alex, game 1, Minnesota, Colorado.
Yeah, well, no side for me because, of course, like I mentioned, I bet both teams to win game 1 and the Avs to win series. So that clears those two out. I will be on first period over, but I'm going to wait for that end game. And I'm seeing minus $1.10, $1.12 now. I'm going to wait a few minutes and get that to cross over into plus money territory. But this is a good live game for me. Like I said, I want to see, can Minnesota, keep that momentum, or can we see a rested Avs team put the screws to them the way that we saw Carolina shut down Philly? I'm not sure. So like I said, this is a live game for me, but I have either side to win game 1 with Avs to win the series moving forward.
And by the way, this is very rarely do we see a 5.5. Well, we saw 5.5s in the Colorado LA series, but again, LA is just so poor offensively. It's just difficult for LA to score goals, especially when Colorado can defend. Minnesota will test that. But Colorado is going to test Minnesota because Minnesota, like I said, their penalty kill got torched by Dallas. They still gave up goals in that series. It's a step-up opponent offensively compared. Dallas had issues galore, injuries galore. Colorado is going to probably be a much bigger test offensively coming in. And plus, it's a rested Colorado team. They're going to be ready to be potentially flying if Carolina last night's any indication. So, like I said, I think it's a higher scoring, at least for game 1. I think you'll get your unders too in this series. You're going to get some 2-1, 3-2 games probably in this series. I just don't think it's going to be tonight here in game 1. As far as props here for game 1, I mentioned Landeskog and Boldy as top goal scorer bets for the series. How can I not bet them individually to score tonight here in game 1? And I am doing just that. So I do like both of them to get on the board here in the game tonight between these two teams. Just lost my prop screen, but a couple other things to factor in here tonight as far as goals. Boldy, 3 straight. Don't be scared about Cale Makar. He scored in back-to-back games to end the LA series. As far as head-to-head, Kaprizov and McKinnon both had some pretty good head-to-head scoring success against these teams during the regular season. Lehkonen is another one. Landeskog, Necas, and Big Val Nichushkin has had success in the past against Minnesota. So those of you banking that this is the time for Valerie, call on me, Valerie, for him to come alive, maybe it's tonight and in this series for the Colorado Avalanche. But like I said, my favorites for sure, Landeskog, Boldy for goal props tonight. If Hartman's still up there with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, which he is, he's probably worth a look here as well. Nico Sturm's birthday, someone in the chat, so maybe you sprinkle on the 4th line centerman there for Minnesota as a result. Here's one that I'll throw out there. Lehkonen too, because he's been on the top line, been a good scorer. But Nick Waugh, don't sleep on Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh can put in a goal or two for you in the playoffs. We saw it against Los Angeles. He scored 2 goals in the last 3 games of that series. Nick Waugh was acquired by the Avs for the playoffs. Nick Waugh could be your down the radar or under the radar down the board, the goal prop consideration here, not only for this game, but maybe for the series moving forward. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Great night of hockey coming up, a game 7 in the first round and the start of the Minnesota-Colorado series. In the meantime, check out wizardsportspicks.com, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB on a daily basis, daily premium picks on the website, and I did the Beyond the Lines video on the YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out, the Sunday Beyond the Lines show. Check it all out, wizardsportspicks.com, and of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month, goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props, posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We're not going to have a Patreon betcast this week, but we're going to have multiple ones next week. The latter part of the second round, we will have you covered with multiple live betcasts exclusively for our Patreon members. So make sure you get on board. Well, we've got lots of off-season plans as well for those Patreon members as well. Stuff we're going to do to keep the content flow going throughout the NHL offseason. So make sure you get on board. And if you're already a subscriber, stay on board through the summer as well. Just $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show, keeping it going long term. So get on board, $10 per month over at patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You got 3 days where you can get 25% off all your orders. Just hit the redeem button at the homepage, add your items to your cart, and 25% will be taken off checkout. Mother's Day is around the corner, so if you want to give mom something from our store, that's a good time to take advantage of it. Like I said, weather's getting nice and warm, so we got a lot of great items that you can pick up, and you can save 25% off for the next 3 days. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, take advantage of that. All right, bargain bin special of the night, best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night for the two games here for this Sunday. Alex, we'll start with you. A bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, let's go with that game 7. You got the Habs taking on the Bolts, and a guy that we've cashed with many a time, Nick Paul. You get him plus 750 anytime goal scorer over at BetMGM. I like that quite a bit. So that's going to be my bargain bin special for the night. Nicholas Paul, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
There you go, Nick Paul. He's scored in these games before. We'll see if he can do it once again here for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. I'm only going with one bargain bin special. It's been a while since I've only had one bargain bin special, but I'm only going with one. I've got some ideas for Montreal, Tampa Bay, but in a game that I think is going to be, I think, pretty tight checking because most game 7s have tended to be that way. I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm going to go to Minnesota, Colorado for my bargain bin special because I think we will see more goals in that game. And we're going to go to Gabe Landeskog. I've talked about it a lot. I like him to lead the series in goals. It's a great price, upwards of 40-1. Multiple goals in the LA series. He's been a playoff producer in years past. He's already shown it to start this year in the first round. And he's plus 340 at BetMGM and DraftKings to find the back of the net tonight. It's a great price. Gabriel Landeskog, Colorado, plus 340 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
This Montreal-Tampa series has been absolute cinema throughout, and why not have it in the most dramatic of fashion? Game 7, overtime. Give me the draw here, plus 325. Best price available over at BetOnline. That's going to be my best bet for the Sunday.
All right, good stuff indeed. My best bet, let's go to Minnesota, Colorado, and let's go over 5.5, minus 120, minus 125. I like it. I think we're going. This is the game. I think tonight we're going to see goals early. We saw 7 goals in Minnesota's first round series. Yeah, Colorado in game 1 against LA, it stayed way under 2-1. This is a different series. Minnesota's going to push pace. They're an offensive threat. You can't say that about LA. And I think we're going to see goals off the hop here in game 1. Minnesota, Colorado, over 5.5, minus 125, I believe is the best price with that. Yes, minus 125 for my best bet here for this Sunday. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. Looking forward to it. We're also looking forward to Rachel Krychak. She's back tomorrow on the Monday show joining us. So looking forward to that.
Awesome.
No doubt. She's going to try to join us Mondays when she can moving forward the rest of the playoffs. Great stuff. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we're back Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.